So Tom Cruise was in War of the Worlds, a Spielberg film.
Yes.
Not a great movie.
No, that's pretty bad from what I remember.
But for years after that, Spielberg would stick up for Tom when people were like, hey, you're a crazy Scientologist. And Tom would say, I don't believe in crazy because psychology doesn't exist.
Oh, God damn it. Yeah, that tracks.
But for years, Spielberg was like, nah, he's this religious, until Spielberg was talking to Tom about how one of his friends had been really, really sick, some kind of like awful illness, but this medication that their doctor had prescribed had basically changed her life.
Okay.
Given like a higher quality of life.
Good.
Which is great. Like modern medicine, wonderful.
It's an amazing thing sometimes.
Another thing Tom Cruise doesn't believe in is medication.
Yeah.
So the doctor, started to notice that there were people following him and harassing him.
The doctor who prescribed the medication?
Correct.
Fucking hell.
And this is not the first time that a doctor's been followed after Tom Cruise was like, that one, get that one over there.
Yeah.
So Spielberg has disowned him and won't work with him.
You had mentioned to me that that Spielberg had separated himself from Tom Cruise. I did not know that was why. Holy shit!
I think he still falls under the category of gossip, but it's like more or less confirmed.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, there's a number of people who won't work with Tom Cruise anymore, and Spielberg was for a while like, no, like, he's strange, but who isn't?
I mean, on the one hand, sure,
right.
On the other hand, no.
Correct. Yeah. I will absolutely not talk about Scientology on this podcast. See episode 2, season 1.
Yeah, we've done it. Yeah. Just we're not going to sit here and rehash everything that is fucking horrible about the Church of Scientology. They're horrible. That's all there is to it.
So when I messaged you, I don't know, a week or two ago, and asked if one of the rules, if you don't know, for when we fix a movie is that we can recast two actors, unless one of those people involved was a true awful human monster.
The Jeffrey Jones rule.
If you recall from our Howard the Duck episode.
Yes.
that counts as a freebie.
Yeah. We can. We still have our 2 recasts aside from that.
So I was like, hey, does Tom Cruise fall underneath that?
I would say yes.
I would also say yes.
I said yes before knowing this particular story, just because the stories about the role that he allegedly has in disciplining members of the Church of Scientology is enough for me to be like, nah, fuck this guy.
So when it comes time to recast The Mummy, we will have 3 actors that we're replacing.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So be ready for that when we get to that point.
Wonderful. Hey, welcome to DeRazzled, the podcast that takes award-winning worst films and fixes them. I'm host Jack Culbertson. Here to suffer alongside me, as always, is also host Junie Lewis.
Welcome back.
DeRazzled. We're basically the pathologists of the movie world, determining what killed a film before reanimating its useless corpse. DeRazzled. Unrazzling movies, unmovies, and Jack's questionable decisions. We do it all here, folks. All of it is, we are the people who do it.
We do those things.
What exposure did you have to The Mummy before The Mummy?
So I had never seen the Karloff or Lee versions of The Mummy. I'm sadly very not up on my Hammer horror as I probably should be.
I think I've only watched some of the Christopher Lee Draculas.
I think I've seen a little bit of the Lee Draculas, but I've not seen anything beyond that. So like I didn't even know he was in a version of The Mummy until you mentioned it for the last episode. So for me, it was my first exposure was definitely the 1999 Brendan Fraser, Rachel Weisz The Mummy, which is fucking great. I love it so much.
Still holds up.
Yeah. I watched it last year for the first time in a long time. I was like, holy shit, this is still so good.
When I was first trying to think of how I would redo this movie, I was like, oh, okay, well, if they want to do a expanded universe, can we loop the OG Mummy in? Well, not the OG, because that would be Karloff. But,
well, right. We can't go around reanimating Karloff.
Or can we?
Wait a minute.
Oh, God. So not even for this episode, but I was working on like my Loki costume.
Oh, nice.
And I just threw on something to have on the background, and I have a box set of the Universal Frankenstein monsters. And boy, do they go off the rails. I think there's like 5 on in the collection.
I didn't know there were that many. Jesus.
Yeah, that doesn't include the Frankenstein meets the Wolfman. They meet. Do they fight? Probably.
You would assume, first. Right? They bump into each other in line at a McDonald's.
Right. The poster has them very aggressively like at each other.
Yeah. You're not going to have the moment where they like come around the same corner and then bump into each other and drop all the files that they're carrying. Right. And then as they lean down to pick up each other's files, look longingly into each other's eyes. And thus a budding romance begins.
I could see that out of Lon Chaney's Werewolf, or Wolfman. But
a little Lon Chaney meet cute.
I don't see that out of Karloff.
That's fair. See, Lon Chaney tries to make it work, and then Karloff doesn't.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple things of note from that franchise, from those series of films, they, especially after the second movie, which is Bride of Frankenstein, they do start to connect with each other pretty well.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't finish the last movie. I think it is House of Frankenstein, but there is a Dracula in it.
Just one Dracula?
Just the one, but it's not the Bela Lugosi one. It's
damn it.
He is mustached and not very good.
Okay.
I think there's also, again, I've watched before, but it's been years. It's the least enjoyable of the 5 movies. I think there's a Wolfman, and I'm pretty sure Frankenstein shows up at the very last minute of his own movie. There's also a not Dr. Frankenstein. Because of narrative continuity, the original Dr. Frankenstein dead.
Oh, so they couldn't have him.
Right.
They couldn't just reanimate him and make him a Frankenstein's monster?
Well, you would need a Frankenstein to do that. Which, in Son of Frankenstein, there's the Son of Frankenstein.
There we go.
But at the end of Son of Frankenstein,
does he also die?
He sees the error of his ways.
Oh, damn it.
He's like, you know what? This shit was wild. I'm good.
Maybe Dad was wrong.
But in Ghost of Frankenstein...
Delightful.
His cousin or brother, who's a Frankenstein,
cousin's mother's uncle's best friend's roommate,
is visited by the original Frankenstein, the character, not the actor, and is told to make a monster, and he does. But Igor is in the brain of the monster.
Oh,
and Igor was played by Bela Lugosi, so it's a Dracula Frankenstein. And I'm allowed to say that because in Son of Frankenstein...
This is convoluted. Jesus.
In Son of Frankenstein, the Son of Frankenstein says it's okay because they started to call the monster Frankenstein, and he has this whole like hissy fit about how his dad was done wrong. Anyway, we're going to talk about how... the Universal monsters try to have an interconnected universe, but it didn't go well. But hey, at one time they tried, and
it sure did.
There you go. So, hey, this is the section where we try to explain ourselves or explain the people who fucked up.
Yes.
And while this movie, the 2017, The Mummy, I don't have any great detail on because I think just watching it, you can tell it was a money grab. And
honestly, yeah, like the work speaks for itself on that matter. I think like the script is bad, the performances are bad. Tom Cruise literally says "It's not me, it's you" to the Mummy before doing a thing. It's
not funny.
It's not
It's
funny.
Not a funny joke.
It's not a thing that it does not land.
Oh my god.
It's like it just every step of the way. This movie just reminds you that it does not deserve to be.
So instead, we're going to take a step back and see how they were doomed before they even started thinking of The Mummy.
Yeah. So the who is responsible that we're going to hold responsible here is largely Universal Pictures.
Yeah. So I can't remember when the original collection of classic Universal monsters kind of died out. I want to say it's the mid to late 50s.
That seems reasonable.
Because the interest in those type of monsters kind of shifted to them Godzillas and more science fiction-y, outer spacey type characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the older style of monster started kind of becoming a thing of parody.
Yeah,
at that point, because as come the 60s and 70s and whatnot, you have your Addams Family, you have your Munsters. It's
and then you have the Hammer horror films.
Yes,
and they were, for the time, considered gruesome and vile. They
were like a proto trauma.
Yeah,
in a way. Yeah. I'm sure somebody out there just screamed as I said that.
I've watched 2 Draculas and a Mummy, so I'm not an expert in Hammer horror, but
sure, you've seen more than I have.
So Universal's been trying to make the monies off of that besides like re-releasing action figures, which does work. I've the entire Burger King toy line from the 90s.
Excellent.
Their first success came with, as we've discussed a number of times, the Brendan Fraser The Mummy from 1999.
Yes.
Nobody expected it to be amazing, but it was.
It was fucking great. And I would argue largely because it's not afraid to be campy and fun.
Yeah, campy and fun, and the actors all worked really well with each other.
Yeah, they all leaned in. They all had good chemistry. The writing was as good as it needed to be to make that kind of thing work.
I often look at it as a kind of spiritual follow-up to Indiana Jones.
It definitely has that vibe.
Like, I could see them in a double feature night.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like Temple of Doom and this.
Yeah. I think Temple would be a good choice because it's got some camp in it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, all three of them.
All 3.
Can't wait to see what they do with this new one. The
fourth one. Definitely just the 4th one.
So they tried to do a Van Helsing movie, which I thought would be really cool.
That was the Hugh Jackman one, right?
That's correct.
I remember that.
I saw that in theaters.
I don't think I saw it in theaters. I definitely watched it multiple times on HBO, though, as a kid. I don't remember it being that good, but it sure was actiony.
Yeah, I remember being thrilled to see all the characters in one place.
Yeah.
It's kind of like watching an old Marvel cartoon where it's like, oh, this isn't good, but the Silver Surfer and Galactus is here, so that was fun.
Yep.
It was cool to see these people on the screen. Then Hugh Jackman had done Wolverine at that time.
That was definitely the thing he was most known for at that moment. This is all well before Greatest Showman and Les Mis.
Right.
And The Prestige.
And The Prestige. So
an actual good movie.
Basically Van Helsing is an action movie that crams all the monsters into one spot.
Yes. There's a lot of shoehorning happening in this movie.
I don't remember much of it other than Dracula was extra broody and Frankenstein's monster was smart. They went with the more towards the book version of the monster.
Right. Which I actually kind of appreciate, but at the same time, give that its own time to breathe, I guess. Like if you're gonna do that, just do that. Yeah.
I would love to, and we'll get to this for the fix, but like I would love to have this assignment. Like fix it. Fix this thing. I'm like, great.
Hey, ramming speed, do this.
Yeah. I think we'll get to it. Anyway, so Van Helsing didn't work out. Whatever. They waited 6 more years before releasing The Wolfman with Benicio del Toro.
Oh, yeah.
No one cared.
No, not at all.
Not a single person cared.
Oh, my God.
I want to say it was written by the fella who wrote Seven, Kevin Andrew Walker.
We always get this mixed up. We always get this guy's name mixed up.
And I always bring him up because he comes from my hometown. He also wrote Sleepy Hollow, the Tim Burton version.
As Andrew Kevin Walker, yeah.
Right, that's what I said. Yeah. So he wrote it. Nobody gave a shit. I think of the attempts they made, this is the one I'm most bummed about because the director they had attached,
Joe Johnston.
The original director they had attached. Yeah. Joe Johnston, he's whatever. He does movies. He did the first Captain America and I think Rocket Man.
Oh, shit.
Am I thinking of the right guy? Double check me on this. But the original director attached was Mark Romanek. And he did Under the Skin and a fuck ton of music videos, which I adore.
No, the first Captain America was Joe Johnston.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is this the same dude?
Yeah.
Okay. I look at him as kind of like a director for hire, like a hired gun type of. He has like kind of a style, but not really. He just, he does an okay job at things.
Okay.
So Mark Romanek, he did the music video for it's 9 Inch Nails. But I want to say Hurt, but it's not Hurt. It's not. It's the Uncomfortably Sexy one.
Oh, oh, Jesus Christ.
Why am I blanking on this?
Blank on the name of this fucking
listen to it
song.
all the goddamn time.
Closer,
yeah.
Yeah.
He did the music video Closer. He did Criminal by Fiona Apple.
Oh, man.
I forget what the company is that puts out, or did put out, collections of music video directors, but I have his and they're all amazing.
Nice.
All great.
Okay.
He's a very visually fascinating fella. Has almost like a dreamy vibe to his stuff. And he wanted to do a version of The Wolfman, but the Universal wanted a more commercially traditional film. It's fuck you. But I can only imagine like the guy who directed the music video Closer with a script from the guy who wrote Seven with Benicio del Toro as a Wolfman would have been pretty cool.
It would have been pretty cool. Yeah, I agree.
But nobody cared. So in 2014, they tried again with Dracula Untold, which it wasn't initially going to be.
I forgot about that one.
I have not watched this one. It wasn't initially going to be a part of like a relaunch, but it did well enough, and they
got the taste of that blood.
They were confident in it. They're like, hey, this movie doesn't outright suck. Let's try to relaunch it thing. And they added a stinger at the very end of it, which I've watched and immediately forgot. It is... A thing happens, I guess.
Okay.
It has Dracula in present day, and he's sad. And then they pan to a guy reading a paper. And I think he says a thing that's supposed to make me believe there's a sequel. But that didn't happen. Instead, they came out with The Mummy 2017, which they tried to force down our throats.
And this is where they go back to shoehorning.
So let me take you back to 2017 when they thought they could force a dark universe upon us.
Sure.
I don't know how much you know about the cast that they had gathered.
You mean like for the other monsters and such?
Yes.
Or I don't know.
Great. I'm going to name an actor, and I want you to tell me what the monster was.
Oh, cool.
Great.
Yeah, let's do this.
I think some of them are going to be pretty obvious. Some of them are like, yes, absolutely, we have photographic evidence. Others are like, we talked about it, but it never happened, so we can't confirm.
Okay.
Javier Bardem.
Wolfman.
Frankenstein's monster.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? No.
Which
Yeah.
I could see him doing a good job at.
I actually could.
Yeah.
No, I could see that being good.
They were going to do Bride of Frankenstein first.
Cool.
They're going to skip straight to Bride of Frankenstein.
Cool. She deserves more mainstream film.
They were going to have Bill Condon direct it, which I think he did some of the
Condon.
Twilights. So I don't. I could be wrong, but I don't.
Don't
care.
Don't let him direct any more vampires.
No. Frankenstein's monsters are fine though.
Yeah, sure.
Channing Tatum,
Dracul.
Van Helsing.
I actually kind of like that.
I hate it, but I could see him.
It depends on how they play it. It depends on how they actually write his character. It could be amazing. It could be shit.
Fuck. What is so in the original Dracula novel, Lucy has a number of suitors, and one of them's from Texas. Is it Quincy? It might be Quincy. Doesn't matter. Anyway, that's what I want Channing Tatum to be. I want him to be Quincy, the Texan, who's excited to kill a Dracula.
That would rule. Yeah, that would absolutely rule.
Carrie Elways is one of the suitors in the Ford Coppola version, and I can't remember which one he is.
Interesting.
Anyway, Tom Cruise we know. As well as Sophia Boutella.
Yes.
And Russell Crowe. Johnny Depp.
God damn it.
Yeah.
Wolfman. Dracula. Black Lagoon. Creature from Black Lagoon.
He's the swamp. He's the actual swamp. No, somehow even creepier.
What's the most racially insensitive one they could cast him as?
What's the creepiest one?
What is the creepiest one?
At least I think he's the creepiest one.
I don't know.
Invisible Man.
Oh, god damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is the creepiest one.
This is before anything happened with anything, so it was like, well.
All right, I want to point something out here real quick. So long as we're getting to this is before anything happened.
I think so.
No, it might be before anything happened. It might be before anything happened with Amber Heard. Johnny Depp had so many fucking abuse allegations brought up against him throughout his entire fucking life, and should never have gotten to what happened with Amber Heard.
I was completely unaware of anything until that happened. He must have some did have some excellent PR people.
Well, it's partially that he had excellent PR people, and it's also partially that Hollywood media is fucking stupid. It's just let shit slip for decades. For fucking decades. They would have let Robert Downey Jr. just drug himself into a fucking grave because his antics were so fun to keep up with. They don't think of anything critically. They don't actually think of the impact on these people and what the fame and attention is doing to their lives.
Almost like they just want money.
Yeah.
The Rock.
The Rock was cast?
He was in talks.
He was in talks. Okay. Is he the Wolfman?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I could see that working. Big burly Wolfman.
Yes. Depending on which direction they went with the Wolfman. The original Wolfman with Lon Chaney, I think Lon Chaney Jr. I really, really like that one.
Yeah.
And it's because he's super sympathetic.
Okay.
You feel, of all the monsters, you just really feel bad for him.
Okay.
And he's not a strong dude. He's a pretty regular looking dude.
But a lot of what comes packed with the idea of the Wolfman nowadays is an immense amount of strength.
Yeah.
Largely a strength that person can't control.
Yeah. Which is why they went with Benicio del Toro, even when they cast Jack Nicholson.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
I forget what that one's called. I think it's just Wolf or Scary. I forget. I've not watched it. Howl?
Grr.
Maybe it's Howl. Yeah, Grr. And then, and this is the one I'm not sure about because I thought I remember hearing somebody else being cast as the part, but Gal Gadot.
Gal Gadot? Yeah. As the Bride Frankenstein?
Yeah. Huh. I really swear I heard Angelina Jolie was suggested as being the, but of the ones we have photographic evidence, because before The Mummy was released, they put this picture out of this is the new Dark Universe people. It was Javier Bardem, Tom Cruise, Sofia Boutella, Russell Crowe, Johnny Depp. I feel like there's one more. Anyway, but the game continues because The Mummy did not do well, but Universe doesn't learn a lesson.
Oh, God damn it! What are you, Sony?
So, this is just conjecture, but they saw what Blumhouse did with Mike Myers, in which they were given a property that wasn't necessarily theirs, but they were able to shepherd. And they're like, hey, what if they did that with our monsters?
Okay.
That's conjecture.
That's conjecture. Okay.
What's not conjecture is that Blumhouse is definitely making movies with those properties.
Okay.
The Wolf. Oh, I give it away. Okay. The Wolf. Scarlett Johansson.
As the Wolf?
No, I switched up the order.
Oh, okay. Scarlett Johansson is the Bride of Frankenstein.
Yep. In production right now.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't hate it. I'm curious.
No, and so technically The Invisible Man that came out a couple of years ago is part of the franchise.
I still haven't seen that. I heard it was better than expected.
So after the Dark Universe bombed, they decided they're going to do individual movie projects, which I think is, at least for the time being, the way to go.
Kind of like the way DC decided to go when they realized, oh, we don't know how. Yeah. Zack Snyder doesn't know how to do an MCU.
Yeah. So they're doing these. I don't think the Bride of Frankenstein is going to connect with the Invisible Man.
Okay.
I think
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that's fine. Elizabeth Moss.
Elizabeth Moss.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Moss.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yes.
Was she in
Yes.
The Invisible Man?
Yes.
Did she become an invisible person?
That's a great question. I haven't watched the movie either. But
Invisible
Woman.
Invisible Woman. Okay.
But
But
funny Invisible Woman?
I'm wary of that, but all right.
Yeah, that one is one where it's like you hear something one month and then another month you hear something else, but the last time anybody's heard about it was going to be a funny version of the
Invisible Man, the musical.
Yeah, which I'm pretty sure they tried to do an Invisible Man with Chevy Chase.
They did do that. Didn't John Carpenter do an Invisible Man with Chevy Chase?
It's like the one movie he regrets doing.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, anyway, I'm sure it'll go great. Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Gosling. He's a Van Helsing.
He would be a good Van Helsing.
Yeah, I'd like to see him as a Van Helsing.
Wolfman.
Wolfman, really?
Which he would be closer to.
They're going more sympathetic angle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's what they're going to do, but that's what I could see.
I like Ryan Gosling. I'm willing to give it a shot.
Yeah. The game continues.
Yeah, keep
There's
going.
So much.
Keep going.
So we're going to switch over to directors.
Oh, directors. Okay. So we don't have anyone else that's actually confirmed for cast.
Correct.
Okay.
And given that this is Universal, that all could change by the time we release this episode.
Okay.
But last time I researched it, those were the things that were true.
Okay.
James Wan.
James Wan. Yeah. Wolfman.
Frankenstein.
Bride of Frankenstein?
Frankenstein.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He just wants to do his version of Frankenstein. I think it's with Blumhouse.
All right.
And because he makes money, they're just going to be, do it, James.
Sure. Yeah, give him a shot.
This one has, I think, since been canceled. I'm pretty sure, but I'll throw it at you anyway. Karen Kusama, who we talked about.
Karen Kusama. Of Jennifer's Body fame. Yeah. Oh, I don't want her films to be canceled.
Yeah, I think she's the one that was like, nah, it was going to be shit, so we're done with it.
Oh, okay. But, well, if that's what happened, I can respect that a little bit more. Was she going to do a Dracula?
She was going to do a Dracula.
Neat. I got one. But
from Mina's perspective,
I like that.
Yeah,
actually.
No, I was like, I kind of wish that had happened.
I want that. I would love to see a Dracula through Mina's eyes.
Yeah. You're not going to guess this one, but I'll say it anyway.
Okay.
I think his name is pronounced Paul Feig?
Paul Feig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he the one that did the Ghostbusters?
He's the one. He did he did the 2016 Ghostbusters. Oh man, what the fuck is he directing? Creature from the Black Lagoon.
I would watch that actually.
That could be fun.
But no, he is doing probably the I'm going to call it the Hangover from the Dark Universe.
Oh no,
called Dark Army.
Dark Army.
Which,
yeah, you're right. I was never going to guess that.
At the time of the Dark Universe still existing, that was the kind of culminating event. Their Avengers.
Oh, it was their Avengers. Okay.
Yeah. It's still listed as in production. He still says it's happening. I think by pure rage that he had from Ghostbusters.
He's going to force this into
He's going to force it into existence.
Shit, hey, man working from spite.
I
can get behind it.
Yeah.
This is man of my own heart.
I don't understand, but all right. There are two other movies that are listed. They're both animated, so there's no director yet.
Animated, did you say?
Mm-hmm. The one is called Little Monsters. Nothing's done about it.
That's fun. Okay.
Not related to the one that already exists. I think there's a Little Monster movie.
I'm not sure. I mean, I know that Lady Gaga fans are referred to as little monsters, but aside from that, that's.
Can you imagine a weird Lady Gaga animated movie called Little Monsters?
Yes, I could imagine that happening.
I wouldn't want it as a movie, but like a 20-minute holiday special.
Yes.
I'd watch it.
Oh my god. Yeah, that would rule. It would also be laced with so much weird occult shit.
Yeah, yeah. People would about like the YouTube videos just spending hours and hours dissecting that for meaning. And then the last one is, and I think that Seth Rogen was attached to it at one point to like work on it story-wise. Another animated one called Monster Mash.
That sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah.
I think I do remember
for that.
I think I do remember hearing Seth Rogen's name attached to something like that. But they also just announced that they're doing a Sausage Party animated series.
Why?
I don't know. It's happening though. It's just,
stop, Seth. No.
They somehow got everyone to come back for that, and some new people as well. So I guess we'll see if that's still happening.
I'm not breaking for commercial on that note.
No, okay, I agree.
So,
let's find another exit.
There is a pre-existing Monster Mash movie.
Oh.
By Rankin Bass, who did the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. It is considered a cult classic.
Neat.
I've watched it.
I've not. I want to.
I have a copy that you can borrow.
Excellent.
You're not gonna enjoy it, but it's very dry and of its time.
Sure.
Meaning a lot of the jokes are references to 60s actors that are like a Jerry Lewis reference. And
sure. Yeah.
But the character designs are enjoyable because it's Rankin Bass and the Wolfman's fucking ridiculous.
That's fun. I like that.
So clearly they're doing a sequel to that.
Oh, it has to be.
Yeah. Hey, let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll find a way to make The Mummy 2017 even better.
In that it's better at all.
Oh, I know what I want to talk to you about before we get to the fix.
What's that?
Are we back?
Yeah.
We're back. Is The Mummy racist? Like, just the franchise, just the thought of doing a movie around somebody's culture. I was thinking about this because of the other Universal monsters, Dracula, Frankenstein, those are based on books. Werewolf is kind of a folk legend. Bride, Frankenstein's from the book as well, kind of. The Creature of Lagoon is racist towards fish people, but we don't like them anyway.
Yeah, that racist tradition dating all the way back to H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's a tough question. So what? Like the idea of the mummy comes from the idea of a mummy's curse, right? Like it's something that's supposed to scare away grave robbers and tomb raiders.
Well, I think maybe you're going further back than I am. I assumed it had come from the fuck was that guy who found the famous guy who found the tomb in the 20s.
No, I can't remember his name.
God. Anyway, a bunch of people died from his expedition.
Yes, that's largely what I'm thinking of. Is it's that kind of thing because people chalk that up as some sort of bizarre curse because obviously those Egyptians whipped up some kind of horror for people.
Stink juice, yeah.
Yeah, who would come in and do this when meanwhile they. I don't know, there's probably some kind of pathogen down there that's just been sealed away for all this time, and they went down and got fucking sick. Who knows?
Or it was just like the 20s and everybody died.
Or it's just the 20s and everyone. It's just left and right. Just people just dying. Just a bunch of dumb white people dying for stupid reasons. So, I don't know if that was... So, if the idea of the mummy being, a thing that would rise and attack or curse you was being propagated by Egyptians trying to dissuade colonial people from trying to steal their history and shit, then I don't think that it's racist. But if it is a caricature or scare piece created by those colonizers to explain the horrible deaths that their expedition teams were experiencing, then it feels racist. I don't know the history behind it, so it's hard to really gauge that, right?
Yeah, it didn't strike me, watching the 4 versions I did, it didn't strike me as out and out racist. Mm-hmm. It's uncomfortable in that you have pretty much in every version of the movie, white people going into Egypt and stealing another culture's artifacts, history.
And that's almost more prominent in this version, in the 2017 version of it, because so much of the movie takes place in fucking London.
Yeah.
And the Egyptian tomb that they find isn't even in fucking Egypt. It's in Iraq.
Yeah.
It's weird.
I think for me, it pinged a little bit just because it's so attached to a specific people.
Yeah.
I guess you could say that Dracula's attached to the Transylvanian people, but
I guess.
But it doesn't. When I think of Dracula, I don't think of that area. I think of one individual who may have been a warlord or not.
Right. When you think mummies, there's an entire process and ritual behind the mummification of a body upon death.
Yeah. And I will say, of the Universal monsters, the mummy's probably the one I'm least interested in.
Sure.
I hadn't watched any of the Mummy movies until aside from the Brendan Fraser one.
Right.
And even at that, it wasn't I was interested in the Mummy, Brendan Fraser for the Mummy. I was interested in Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
And that's also, that version is so, over the top and campy in so many ways. It's no, this is obviously not playing into like a particular legend or trying to like assert that it is like historically accurate and like what the Egyptians intended for mummies and mummies' curses to be or anything like that. Like it's like, no, you're just like, Brendan Fraser literally holds a cat up to the camera to scare off
and it worked.
It worked. Yeah, it's not like this is clearly an adventure romp.
Yeah.
That isn't trying to assert any kind of thing about this culture.
Yeah. So I think where I land is probably not, but a little odd.
Mm-hmm. It's also just kind of hard to gauge because like the relationship between Egypt, like actual Egypt, and Western media is extremely fraught. Like they do not let people film in Egypt anymore. Like this is something this is an issue they ran into while filming Moon Knight for Disney Plus. Yeah, like almost none of that is actually in Egypt. Like there are some scenes where I think they might have been able to do some stuff in Cairo, but like only in the city portions. Most of it's shot in Budapest, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know 100% of that off the top of my head. I could be missing some details here or there. They've talked about the directors and the showrunners have talked about this extensively though, because it was very important to them to actually properly represent Egyptian culture as it is.
And I feel like they did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I think they did a good job too. And a lot of people who have left Egypt and felt like they can't go back because of the political situations there, watched it and actually like I've read stories about people watching it and like actually weeping because they were like this is home. It's like you guys, sad. Yeah, and like I don't think you're ever going to hear that kind of thing about a mummy movie.
No, I can't imagine.
Like though. It would almost. I'm almost kind of curious, like what would happen if they did try to take that kind of approach. What if they were trying to be conscious and respectful toward that culture? More, and like, what does that look like? How do they do that?
Great question. I have a little bit of a suggestion for In the Fix, but before we get to that, I wanted to step back and talk about archaeologists in film and whether or not they suck. Because as you're aware, Indiana Jones is one of my favorite characters who does questionable things in general. But with the new one coming out soonish, Indiana Jones bad?
So we're going to call this segment, But What Museum, Henry?
Yeah. I guess it, like I've gone to museums before and I've seen pieces from other cultures and I'm like, that's cool. I liked learning about that. Do they want their shit back?
Yes, and that is the big issue here. It was so many. John Oliver just recently did a whole feature story about museum curation and the returning of artifacts to their native cultures, and a lot of stuff about how the fucking British Museum is just real shitty about it. The big examples they gave were there was like these Grecian frescoes where if you go to a Greek museum and view them, like they have the majority of these big fresco statue things, like statuesque murals. But there's all these really stark white parts that are like mixed in. It's like, no, we had to remake those parts out of like polymer clay or whatever to because those parts were taken by the British and are on display at the British Museum. And at the time the curators of the British Museum were like, well, they weren't taking care of it, so we couldn't trust them to take care of the history that they have, so we're stewarding it for them. It's like, you are so full of shit. Stop it. There was also a series of oh my god, I forget what country this was. Maybe Nigeria. I forget, where they took a series of these bronze pieces that were actually supposed to be a calendar of events. This is like this culture's long-running cultural memory told in these frescoes, or these bronze pieces representing major accomplishments and milestones of this civilization. And the fucking British came in and tore them down and mixed them up and sent them to different places. And it's just like they absolutely fucked it up, and they're still like very slowly recovering them now, and figuring out how to piece them back together and recover that consciousness. Like how like.
Like I can. Have you been to the museum in Carnegie?
Yeah, the Carnegie Museum of Natural History. Yeah.
They have an Egyptian section,
of course.
and you know, I'm gonna go ahead and go on a limb and say 0% of that is real.
I would,
or very little.
I would highly doubt that any of it, if any of it is real, it is a very small percentage. I'm sure a lot of it is
jars
replica
and things that are probably real. But
there might be some stuff along that way. I could see some of the pottery and clay work and whatnot being real, but overall, I feel like a lot of it is probably replica at this point. Which good.
Which I'm gonna say I enjoyed. It would have been cool to see the real thing, but cool versus people having their culture.
Yeah, like if anybody deserves to put the thing into a museum, it is the culture that produced it.
Yeah,
you know, and like you can talk about like loaning things. Yeah, so that's a thing that can be discussed and negotiated. But you don't just fucking go somewhere and steal a bunch of shit and then claim, "Oh, you weren't good stewards of it." Like, no, fucking white people. God damn it.
So with that mindset, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom is the least offensive because he gives the Shikara stones back to the people.
He does, doesn't he? Huh.
Yeah.
That's, weird.
Yeah. I mean, I guess technically at the end of Rage of the Lost Ark, he doesn't get the Ark.
No. I mean, nobody gets the Ark.
So I think Indiana Jones is cool because he fucks up, he gives it back, and he fucks up again. No, he's fine.
He's... Oh, God damn
And with the fourth movie, we'll just have to wait and see.
Oh...
Well, if we were going to include that other movie that they say is official, those were alien rocks anyways.
They were alien rocks, so yeah, I'm pretty sure that's...
aliens, I guess.
Why'd they leave them rocks on Earth? What the fuck? We couldn't go to you and get them.
What a weird conversation.
It was a very strange conversation.
Wonderful. Hey, I have got some fixing to do.
All right.
Let's recast some shit, shall we?
Yes, let's jump in and do that.
Hey, we've only called him Tom Cruise, but the character's name is Nick.
The character's name is Nick. Yeah.
I'm recasting Tom Cruise, surprise, with Rami Malek.
Rami Malek? Mm-hmm. Ooh. Interesting.
Yes. He has he's Egyptian. I think at least part Egyptian.
I believe so, yes.
Not raised there, but Egyptian. I decided to keep the mummy as Sofia Boutella.
Okay.
Because I wanted her to actually get a chance to act. And
I'm all for that. Again, I think as we talked about in part one, she was one of the parts of the cast that did work.
Yeah. I've replaced Chris, which was Nick. Not Nick.
Jake Johnson.
Jake Johnson.
Okay.
Nick from Mean...
Nick from New Girl.
Woof. Okay, that... went some places. I've replaced Chris with Dave Bautista.
Rami Malek and Dave Bautista?
Yes.
That's an interesting pair.
I got it. So for this fix, I pretty much fixed like the first act and then let it spin its wheels because I was like, I'm not rewriting I didn't want to rewrite like the an hour-long script.
Okay.
But I needed to put it on the right path.
Neat.
Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, still Russell Crowe.
Okay.
I think
Again, he was... Okay.
The CGI needs to be better for
that would make a big difference, I think.
And then I've added a character, the Invisible Man, who's played by Doug Jones. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh God. Oh, that's almost. It's like I love that because I love Doug Jones, but it's also like very strange because then you're not really.
I fixed it. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
You were going to say because you don't get to actually see him act, right?
Well, you don't actually see, because his physicality is so much a part of him. But I mean, I guess there's points where he's like wearing clothes, and you just see that motion.
We'll get to it.
Okay.
Because yes, I also thought of that. For the director, I've replaced Alex. Was it not Garland? It's not Alex Garland. What the fuck was his name? So that director is mostly a writer, and he wrote one of the Spider-Mans with Andrew Garfield.
Okay.
I think it was the second one.
Alex Kurtzman.
Yes. Yeah. So he's mostly worked in Star Trek And that one Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, he was a producer on some of the Abrams Star Treks, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So while I would have loved to have seen Mark Reminick do a Wolfman movie, I've called him back and was like, hey, we fucked up. Do you want to do your pretty magic with the Mummy? And he was like, no, yes.
All right, fine.
Yes, but out of spite. And I was like, fair enough. That's why we're all here.
Yes.
And then I was like, hey, while you're at it, could you call up your friends, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, and
get them to do the soundtrack? Ooh,
and he's like, yeah.
Yeah, all right, fine.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
So that's the crew.
Okay.
What I wanted to do with Rami Malek's character was have him be basically a government stooge who's assigned to this group of soldiers for hire, these soldiers of fortune.
So he's kind of like the handler for this group.
Yes.
Okay.
He knows about the history, but he's also there to make sure that they don't destroy any important cultural artifacts.
He's almost a fixer in this situation, then, I guess.
I don't know what that means.
So like when a journalist goes into like a conflict zone, they have like somebody who is their handler. They get referred to as a fixer. Like they organize like their entry in and out of places. They try to make sure they have transportation and lodging set up, stuff like that. Okay. And also, I would guess also in a case like this, like be fucking wary of cultural sensitivity and customs so that you're not being a fucking chode.
I didn't know that's what they were called.
I've only heard that in relation to Robert Evans' trips into like Rojava and stuff like from the podcast of Women's War.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I knew that job existed through like Anthony Bourdain would have to have that.
Right. Yeah.
Where they were going. Great. Yes. He is that.
Yeah.
A little more leaning on the like corporate or the government stooge aspect.
Yeah, there's a more like financially backed official kind of vibe to his position as opposed to your traditional like underground fixer.
Right. Because there's I don't know what episode it was that Anthony Bourdain was talking about. Like, yeah, those guys are now like considered terrorists. Like, they helped us get out of the country, which was great because we didn't want to die. But also, I had a great time with them. But you know, there's a reason they knew the things they knew so well. Let's talk about the script.
Let's do it.
So I want to start on a man running through an alley, specifically in Whitechapel, wearing only scrubs and bandages. Behind him, we hear the whistles of police. Close on his heels, we have the barking of dogs. We have the shouts of angry men. Fleeing for his life, the man starts pulling the bandages off his face, revealing a void underneath.
Yeah.
He's obviously
okay. So this is where we're starting to get Doug Jones doing his thing.
Turning the corner, we see him throw his scrubs to the aside, being naked but invisible. Mm-hmm. The police and their dogs run by, a slight distortion as they run through. You know, we're seeing through the invisible man.
Oh, yeah. You get a little bit of light refraction just for the camera's sake.
Thinking he's escaped, he lets out a snarky remark before running face first into an 11-foot brute. I'm not going to do like a Cockney accent, but he's like, evening, Mr. Griffin, who's the invisible man.
Yeah.
So we see Hyde, his voice like rumbling thunder. He quips that he may not be able to see Griffin, but he can smell him real good because he's stanky.
Yeah, sure.
Griffin calls for help from the police, but is hauled away in a carriage, the Helsing insignia upon its door.
Oh, okay.
So similar in the sense that we're getting hints of the secret society, but it's entertaining and not exposition.
It's not narrated exposition over a bunch of dead Templars.
Yeah. So then we cut to the present day. We're kind of fade from that insignia on the side of the carriage into like a big tapestry behind a desk.
Sure.
Where we see Hyde again. He's still in Hyde form.
Now you mentioned like an 11-foot brute. Like so you're going like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen version where like Hyde kind of hulks out.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
Listen, I've tried to read Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde like 4 times, and it is boring as piss. It's the first like hour of the audiobook, and it's only a 3-hour audiobook.
Really?
The first hour is just talking about land deeds.
Yeah.
I prefer Dracula. Anyway, so yeah, he's big. I don't really know if that's accurate to the book or not, because I just read about land deeds.
It's my recollection of the book is that Hyde is a more kind of gnarled, harrowed version of Jekyll. Like he's more
okay.
He's kind of a creep.
Okay,
more than like a brute, but I think he has brutish qualities that I think have gotten more focused in pop culture.
I see. Okay, that makes sense, because I've seen images, clips. I think I actually watched the original black and white silent version, and he's not so much large as he is a creepy looking fella.
Yeah, exactly. That's more in line with the book.
I see. Well, this is a yes and situation.
Yes,
creepy face and a big guy.
All right.
Whereas, and he is most of the time seen as Hyde.
Oh, interesting.
So he's in his office, the Helsing Society, whatever they're called in this, and often like, did you see Hellboy, the first one?
The Del Toro one?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
So you know how they have Abe Sapien off in his own little like fish aquarium?
Yeah.
But he still gets to like hang out like he's in the room. That, but with the Invisible Man.
Interesting.
Same actor.
Yeah, I would say that's also Doug Jones.
Right. So I want them to have kind of like a weird relationship where they've known each other for so long that it's almost like an odd couple type shtick.
Okay. At this point, has the Invisible Man met Jekyll?
I think he has, but not in present day.
Okay.
I don't know if I mentioned it in this, but like thinking in grander terms of like the wider universe, if Hyde were to revert to Jekyll, he would age to the appropriate age. So if today is 2017, Jekyll would be like 200 years old or whatever.
Oh, okay. So Hyde also is like a life extenuation kind of thing.
Yeah.
For him. Interesting.
Correct. What we do with the Invisible Man is whenever he's not invisible manning about, he wears like a white makeup.
Okay.
He's transitioned from what we normally see in the Universal films, which is bandages and glasses, to kind of like a pale white makeup. So he's still creepy, but we actually get to see Doug Jones act.
Okay.
He'd probably still have to wear either really weird contacts or glasses.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
Griffin, the Invisible Man, is teasing, like, you think you're actually going to like get the tablet of blah, blah, rah this time? I don't know what mummy to call the mummy. What is it? Ahmet? Sophia Boutilla's
Amunet. Yeah,
okay.
Which I think is some kind of play off of the god Amun, if I'm not mistaken.
Of all of the mythologies, Egyptians the one I know the very least about.
Well, apparently the fucking filmmakers for this didn't know it either, because Set's not the god of death in Egypt. Osiris is.
I like the dog with the ears and
Anubis. Yeah.
Yeah, he's scary.
Yeah.
he's
terrifying.
He's in Splunky. And he shoots little like rays at you.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. That's about all I know.
Is that Anubis shoots lasers? Yes.
Anubis shoots lasers and floats around in caves. I prefer Greek mythology.
Fair.
Norse I like, but could never understand the names.
They're odd. Yeah. There's a lot to parse.
As a fucking dyslexic, it's impossible, okay?
Yeah, that does not help at all.
Anyway, so we cut to Egypt, where an illegal sale of this ancient artifact, which is what Hyde and the Invisible Man were just talking about, is taking place. The Helsing Society meaning to make that purchase. Jenny, who is still in this movie,
yes,
is specifically referred to as an agent of the Helsing Society. There's no
like dancing around or like subterfuge there.
She's their like field agent.
Okay.
Just as this is about to occur, shit hits the fan as a small team of American soldiers for hire violently interrupt the exchange. This is where Dave Bautista comes in. He's one of the soldiers,
and Rami Malek is their escort.
Right. Dave Bautista is specifically put in charge of making sure nothing bad happens to Rami Malek.
Yes.
However, Jenny is far from alone. So when the American soldiers pop up, it's like, yeah, I got like 30 dudes with me. A shootout happens. Action stuff happens.
Sure.
We get rid of all the red shirts, leaving Chris and Nick there. And the only reason that they are spared is Nick says like, I can read that tablet if that would
there it
be
is.
A thing. And Dave Bautista's like, really? And he's like, yep, surprise to me too. But this is what it says. So like neither of them, like Nick's not like an Egyptologist.
Right.
He's just like it says that this is where the tomb is. And I read it, so I can show you where that is if you don't kill me and my beefy boy.
Okay.
So they don't. That sets up the characters a little bit more. What I want from Rami Malek is to... He's working for the Egyptian government. He's trying to protect Egypt's culture.
Okay.
Which is why someone has hired him and soldiers to do so. At least that's what he believes.
Okay.
He's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder about being used, about the current state of Egypt and words and things, and
Sure. Now, okay. Now, if he's working with the Egyptian government, then is there a particular reason why he wouldn't have done the studies to be able to translate this tablet?
Well, no one can.
No one can.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's a weird... I don't know anything about Egypt. It's a weird dialect. It has a weird dialect on it.
No, see, this bird's different than the regular bird we use in the hieroglyphs. This is a completely different bird. Also, this guy's kind of hunched.
Is that a sparrow? They take them to the tomb. The spider thing happens again. I want most of the soldiers to perish. We get rid of the rest of the red shirts, leaving us with our Jenny, Chris, and Nick.
We've cut through the red shirts. We're even cutting into some of the actual security personnel.
Right.
And now we're just left with the main officers of Starfleet.
Yes.
How did we get to Star Trek? Anyway,
I do want to have the plane sequence. I don't want to make it as much of a focal point as they did in the 2017 version.
Okay.
Because I want Nick to die. Like, I like that story beat originally. I want to have it happen again.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's a good beat.
Except for instead of having Jake Johnson, who's kind of a weenie, we have Dave Bautista. So when Rami Malek dies, we think we're switching focus to Dave Bautista, and we do a little bit. And he's your more traditional 80s, 90s action hero. We have him like developing a relationship with Jenny. You have both the things that make those characters cool, but also the things that have aged poorly about those characters, where they're misogynistic, they are insensitive to everything except for muscles and guns.
Huh.
And instead of having... I feel like it was suggested in the movie that Tom Cruise woke up because of Mummy person, but it wasn't like outright said.
I think it was in the weird bathroom conversation.
Oh, fuck.
I think that Jake Johnson did pull a how do you think you survived the plane crash?
Such a weird scene to have such important shit go down.
Yeah, it really is.
So in this, they're like, yeah, there was nothing left of Nick to recover because a plane crashed and from great heights and he was smeared.
Yeah.
Anyway, here's like his fingers somehow survived. While everyone else was decimated except for the people who had parachutes, the sarcophagus is more or less intact.
Okay.
There's like a couple scuffs, scratches, whatever.
Might have some chips out of it or something, but
there is a crack, and in spooky movies fashion, a mist comes out of that and reanimates, or not gathers up the Rami Malek into a human body again, ending with the two of them kissing.
Okay.
He kissing like ghost mummy thing.
Yes.
And it is at this time that we get her backstory. We didn't have any of that fucking exposition.
Yes.
Up to this point. This is her introduction, really. I want to know why she do what she do. So the movie now transitions to, you have Rami Malek reanimated as almost a postmodern anti-hero, and you have Dave Bautista as traditional 90s hero.
Okay.
You have Sophia Mummy offering Chris the knife. Here's a knife, do the thing, become I guess we'll say Osiris, because that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, it should fucking be Osiris, yeah.
Osiris, a new kingdom on Earth and dominion over those who would rule him. So Nick plunges the knife into his chest. As Osiris is changing him, Chris and Jenny are able to banish Sophia Mummy.
Okay.
I did miss a part in which, during her backstory, we see that her lover is played by Rami Malek.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So we have a little bit more of a direct connection of like, I mean, he's like of this of that guy's bloodline.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So she's locked away, and when he is fully become Osiris, he's mad. He's pretty upset because his lady mummy is locked away.
Yeah.
That's when he unleashes our like Brendan Fraser type mummy storm shit. He also specifically unleashes the Invisible Man. Like he like shuts down the power of the Helsing Society.
Okay.
Which gives Invisible Man a chance to
escape
and give him a chance to remind Dr. Hyde who he was known as at that time. And this is pulling a little bit from the was it H.G. Wells who wrote The Invisible Man?
Oh, yeah, H.G. Wells, you're right.
His inspiration for that character was Jack the Ripper, so I'm just taking it.
That's why you brought up Whitechapel. Yeah. Okay.
So the Invisible Man is Jack the Ripper in this movie.
Wait, so he's also like 200 years old?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay.
He's got that magic invisible blood. Listen, all the characters they want to have modernized are from like the turn of the century.
Yeah, that's true. That's fucking Victorian shit.
If I were to write this for myself as a book, I would have it be Dorian Gray is the leader of the Housing Society.
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Gotcha.
Yeah. Why? I just think Jack will be a terrible fucking leader. Like, why do you have this guy in charge? Spooky League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yes.
They do the thing. They do a fight. Dr. Hyde runs out of the formula during the fight and transforms back into a 200-year-old man before dying.
Jesus. Yeah. Before he just turns to dust.
Yeah. Chris does manage to defeat Nick, locking him away.
Okay.
But, not killing him, so we can get him for the sequels.
Right.
And then I don't want to do a post-credit scene, but I also feel like this would be a post-credit scene where do you remember when they were going to buy that artifact, the tablet? The tablet.
Yeah.
The person who was going to sell it shows back up to a shadowy figure who is clearly fucking Dracula.
Yeah.
And the man is Renfield.
Okay.
Or a Renfield-like character, because I don't want Renfield to also be like 200
Sure, yeah. He could be a descendant of Renfield.
Jerry Renfield. And was like, hey, that mummy thing didn't really go how we wanted it to go. The Helsing Society beat us this one again. And Dracula's like, don't worry, there are plenty of monsters. Anyway, I fucking hate this movie.
Well, I think you've put together a more feasible amalgamation of monsters. I think you've set up a more cohesive universe, I think, than what they were trying to do with this initially.
Yeah.
So, bravo. It just generally sounds like a more entertaining movie. Like it seems like the performances would be a lot better. The relationships are more carefully considered.
What I don't like about it is that we still get Sofia Boutella as like a tertiary character.
Yeah, she does still kind of get the short end.
Like in a movie about the mummy, we're not getting a whole lot of the mummy.
No.
We're getting like a mummy origin story, which is cool, I guess, but also the mummy.
Yeah.
He also is becoming a mummy earlier.
True. Like there's more time for him to kind of act as like the embodiment of Osiris.
Yeah. Like the third act would basically be him becoming the quote unquote villain.
Yeah.
Not my favorite script I've come up with. I think it's leaning in the right direction.
Yeah, I think that there's further work that would need to be done. I think to better portray that third act Rami Malek as not like you mentioned him being kind of an anti-hero.
Right.
Because he has that driving desire to protect Egyptian culture and to to bring about positive change in his culture. Now he's one of the top gods of the Egyptian pantheon. Right. What an opportunity.
I imagine that I'm in the same position that the original writers were when they were told, write the mummy. And I said, I don't want to.
Fair.
But I gotta. Fuck. Like what I'm actually excited about would be to write the movie following this. where you have the wheels spinning a little bit. You have the housing society kind of established.
The groundwork's been done. You're able to kind of jump in a little, and hit the ground running a little bit more quickly.
And I'm completely cool with sacrificing the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde character because he was never really a big character.
He was never really that much of the focus or like that huge of an important force to begin with. I mean, like you could tell they were trying to lean towards something with the way Hyde tried to interact with Nick in the film.
Yeah.
But I mean, they were never going to get with the quality of this film. They were never going to get the chance to actually move forward with that.
It felt very Iron Man 2.
Kinda.
But they didn't have enough other plates spinning to, well, I guess they tried, but it felt very last minute.
Yeah.
Where Iron Man 2's with S.H.I.E.L.D. and Avengers Initiative.
Right. Blah, 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 blah. You had the momentum of Iron Man 1 and the rest of Phase 1 Marvel to kind of build off of for that.
But guys, they had done Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor first.
And Hulk.
Sure. I guess we now recognize that as legitimate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those characters all are in the public domain, right? So if we just want to go like fuck off and do our own thing, we could, I think.
I would probably want to look a little further into that, but I'm
a lawyer. Definitely.
Neat. Okay, I didn't realize
I've
you
been
did
using
that.
my degree. Or my
acting.
Right. Anyway, that was DeRazzled. Joe, what words do you want to say to them?
I want to say thank you, everyone, for joining us for this one here. This is a little different than a lot of the stuff that we've had to tackle recently, considering the giant intended interconnected universe of it. So thank you for checking this out. If you liked what you heard, if you liked what you've heard from any of our episodes, please be sure to rate and review anywhere and everywhere you possibly can. Those help us get further up into search results and help people discover us more easily. Thank you to those of you who have been doing that and have been following us on social media. If you would like to do that and aren't doing so already, you can find us on Facebook at DeRazzled Podcast, on Instagram at DeRazzled_podcast, on Twitter at DeRazzled Pod, at least until Twitter burns to the ground. And on TikTok at DeRazzled Podcast. If you have suggestions for something you'd like to hear us try to fix, or something you'd like to see pop up in our merch store on Redbubble at DeRazzled Merch, you can email us at DeRazzledPodcast@gmail.com.
Also keep a lookout for possibly a Discord channel.
Yeah, we might. Yeah, we very well may be trying to put together something like that. It might be just us. It might be us and a bunch of other podcasts. Who knows? It's a very early thing that we're starting to conceive. So keep your eyes peeled.
Peel them eyes and come back next time.
we'll be sure to razzle dazzle you.